You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Another black man dead at the hands of police, this time in Columbus, Ohio. A black man was fatally shot early Tuesday. The officer did not turn on their body cameras until after the shooting. But because of a 60-second look-back function, the shooting was captured on video. However, the function does not record the audio. The mayor of Columbus, Andrew Ginther, said the fact the cameras were not on when they were supposed to be is unacceptable. Officers were responding to a call about a running vehicle at 1:30 in the morning on Tuesday. They found a 47-year-old man in the garage. At some point, the man started walking towards the police officer with a cell phone in his left hand. Officers say his other hand couldn't be seen. That's when one of the officers opened fire, striking the man. He died an hour later at a local hospital. To date, the victim and the officers involved have yet to be named. Now, this comes 2 weeks after law enforcement fatally shot 23-year-old Casey Goodson Jr. as he was entering his grandmother's home. There isn't any recording of that incident, as the sheriff's deputy involved wasn't using a body camera. Joining us right now is the mayor of Columbus, Ohio. Actually, we're going to play this soundbite first, and then we're going to go to Mayor Andrew Ginther. So go ahead and play it.
It is unacceptable to me and to the community that the officers did not turn on their cameras. The city works hard to provide police with the tools officers need to protect themselves and the public. So let me be clear. If you're not going to turn on your body-worn camera, you cannot serve and protect the people of Columbus. I have asked Chief Quinlan to relieve the officer involved of duty and turn in his badge and gun. We are awaiting the notification of the next of kin to release the name of the gentleman who was shot and killed. We are also giving them, the family, an opportunity to see the body-worn camera footage we have before it is released to the media. We expect that to be in the next 24 hours. As you all know, this past summer, we signed an MOU with the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, or BCI, to investigate police-involved shootings and deaths that occur in custody. This investigation is being handled by BCI, and the Columbus Division of Police is fully cooperating. In addition, I spoke this afternoon with U.S. Attorney Dave DeVillers and have asked him to review the investigation to determine if the victim's civil rights were violated as well. I am deeply saddened, frustrated, angry, demanding answers of what happened in our community earlier this morning. And I am committed to transparency and accountability in our Division of Police. The director and I are the civilian oversight of the Division of Police. The chief reports to the director. The director reports to me. And I report to the people of Columbus. And I am committing to them that we will seek the truth wherever it takes us, and justice will be served.
In just a moment, we'll be joined by Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther. I want to now go to Scott Bolden as well as Robert Patillo, two of our regular Wednesday panelists. And so we're going to go to them in just a second to talk about this here. Do we have the mayor? All right, we're going to have Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther in just 1 second. Again, what we're dealing with here, is a police officer fatally shooting an African-American man on Tuesday in Columbus, Ohio. Body camera not on. Now, you heard me say on many occasions on this show that I believe that officers who do not turn on their body cameras should be automatically fired. That is the point of the body cameras. Yeah. Scott Bolden, Robert Patillo, I want to start with you, Scott. That's the point of contention that I've always had, and I'm sick and tired of excuses from these police officers, Scott.
There should be no excuses, and the mayor and you are right. They have the police tools to photograph and to videotape their work. If you're a good cop, if you do it by the book, if you're procedurally sound with this gun and badge, then you should have no problem turning on that camera. This was not an emergency run. The run was for someone sleeping in a car running, and then as it turned out, it was in the garage. It was 1:30 in the morning, and so the police approached cautiously. They didn't have their sirens on. They didn't have their lights on. They just investigated. And now, as a result of what appeared to be a simple investigation, you have another dead black man. It just makes no sense. It's bad policing. The camera raises suspicion, but the fact that you used your gun because you couldn't see his hand or he had a cell phone in his hand, it goes back to police training, but more importantly, what I've said to you before is who are we giving guns and badges to? There's got to be a psychological assessment as to whether these people are prone to racially profiling. Can they handle the pressure of carrying a gun as part of an investigation? And they don't deserve to have a gun and badge on the color of law, because this is what happens. Bad policing.
Robert, we've had Ben Crump on the show. He talked about 95 African Americans shot and killed by police this year in 2020. I'm sorry, since the murder of George Floyd. Now you see this case here. I mean, it's just absolutely unbelievable. It's crazy.
Well, this is part of the reason that we're going to have to demand federal legislation within the first 100 days of the Biden administration to address police brutality. I understand what many in the establishment are saying about defunding the police, hurting this concept of democratic homogeny. But in reality, there has to be federal legislation to set an across-the-board national standard for policing for individuals. It should not depend on your state or your local jurisdiction as to whether or not you have constitutional rights that will be protected. But understand right now that we are regulated as civilians when it comes to crossing the street. If you cross the street wrong, you get a ticket for jaywalking. You are regulated when it comes to parking your car. If you park your car in the wrong place, you get a citation. But police officers in many jurisdictions have no consequences and no repercussions for not turning on their body cameras, for footage disappearing, for not following proper police procedures. You get a write-up when you get a violation or a criminal complaint for crossing the street the wrong way. So we have to ensure that federal legislation that if you fail to turn on your camera during a fatal event, that is a felony charge for the officer. No questions, no ifs, no ands, no buts. That is part of the duty of care for you taking part in being a police officer. Additionally, local governments should be given resources to have continuously recorded, tamper-proof body cameras. It should not be a turn-on, turn-off situation. You record it directly to a remote server, and then our server is saved for 90 days. If there's a freedom of information at request or a discovery request put in, then the footage is archived. There's nothing stopping local jurisdictions except for money for putting that into place. So we can pass a $780 billion defense bill. We can pass legislation on the federal level that doles out $1.5 trillion in tax cuts to the rich. Why can we not put money into proper policing and the type of criminal justice reform that's necessary to stop these things from happening? Some people on the right believe we just like protesting. We like being mad about things. No, we want these things to stop. And the best way to stop those is with federal legislation.
Yeah, and Roland, we need a national
Joining us right now, Scott, 1 second. Scott, 1 second. Joining us right now is the mayor, Andrew Ginther. Mayor Ginther, welcome to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Mayor Ginther, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Do you hear me okay?
There we go. All right then, Mayor. Yep, I hear you just fine. Mayor, I have long contended for years when it comes to body cameras that if a police, not just body cameras, but also dash cam cameras, that if a police officer does not turn that body camera on, does not turn that dash cam camera on, or they turn off the audio or they switch off the video, that should be automatic firing, because the cameras are there not only to protect the citizens, but also to protect the police officers. And to me, it's careless. When they walk out of that police station, they walk out there with their gun, with their badge, with their flashlight, with their taser, with their mace. And I don't understand how hard it is to simply go, click, it's on.
Well, it's really careless and reckless, and it undermines community trust. This was a top priority of mine when I ran and became mayor, was putting body-worn cameras on our officers. And I am furious the fact that this officer didn't turn on their camera until after the shooting of Mr. Hill. Unacceptable in this community. If you want to police in the city of Columbus, you better have that camera turned on. And after this shooting, it was minutes before any aid, several minutes, that Mr. Hill lied there dying without any CPR, without any aid given to him. Unacceptable in our city.
The point that you just made there is one, we showed the body cam footage the other day of a shooting by police in Lamarck, Texas. And the same thing, he shot and they're sitting there saying, oh, get the crowd back, get the crowd back. And it was 3.5, 4 minutes. And we've seen this in numerous cases over and over and over again. And it just boggles the mind that if you're a police officer, if you shoot somebody, look, you go in to try to, to get paramedics there and to try to save the person. But unfortunately, there's this attitude of shoot to kill. And we've even seen some instances, Mayor, where if they've shot somebody, then they go handcuff them.
Totally unacceptable. And what we saw in this footage, once the camera came on after Mr. Hill was shot, I believe was a total disregard for life, in this case, black life. And when, lives are disregarded, that undermines the community's trust and confidence. There are two things that we are calling for the termination and firing this officer: not turning on the body-worn camera and not offering aid and CPR in terms of resuscitation. Unacceptable in our city.
Mayor, I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia right now, covering the Georgia Senate runoff race. And I remember after they had some protests in this city, when some police officers pointed a gun at 2 college students, snatched them out of the car, no cause whatsoever, and the mayor quickly moved to fire those officers. The police union and other officers were angry. They were upset. They chastised Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. Even the police chief said the firings were political and not based upon the situation on the ground. Part of the problem that we're dealing with here is that when mayors like you take such a stance, there's a blowback from police. There's a blowback from the unions who say you're not supporting law enforcement. But what about the citizens? What about the people who now have to bury a man, the family who has to bury a man because his car was running at 1:30 in the morning? That somehow results in death?
Unacceptable. And I'll tell you this, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms is an outstanding mayor and friend of mine, and she leads with courage and conviction. And that's what we're attempting to do right here as well. And I could really care less what the FOP and the police union say. I don't work for them. I work for the people of Columbus, and the people of Columbus are calling for truth and justice, and that's exactly what we're pursuing.
Mayor, we have seen the protests around the country, and clearly Congress has to act when it comes to federal legislation. But the reality is this: you can pass a federal law, you can pass a state law, you can deal with qualified immunity, you could deal with all those things. You could spend $100 billion to outfit every law enforcement agency with body camera footage. But this is also dependent upon the individual who goes on the scene, who answers that call, to not sort of make these judgments. We hear them saying we saw a cell phone in the left hand and we didn't see a phone in the other hand. And again, I'm just trying to understand, how do we get to the point of avoiding having to bury another black person shot and killed by police? And then typically what happens, folks say, no build, officers felt that their lives were in danger, yet somebody is dead. And as I said, since George Floyd's murder, 95 black folks shot by police.
Well, absolutely. And in our community, what we're saying is enough is enough. We've now buried Casey Goodson today. And we are now notifying the Hill family of the death of a member of their family. 2 African-American men in our community in the last 3 weeks, one from the deputy in the sheriff's department, and this shooting involving Mr. Hill from the Columbus Division of Police. Enough is enough. And you're right. We have body-worn cameras. We have policies and procedures. But the way you change behavior is by holding people accountable. And that's exactly what we intend to do. That's the only way you can change the culture and make sure that you have the independence, the oversight, and the accountability.
Just one more question for you. One of the other issues that is a problem here is that when an officer is fired or officer resigns or retires, they can simply move on to the next locale. We saw that happen in Cleveland. The officer who shot and killed Tamir Rice had issues at another police department and was able to get a job there. And then after that situation, another place hired him as well. Do you believe that when these things happen, there should be state legislation that bars another law enforcement agency from being able to hire a police officer, let's say, who's been fired? Let's say this officer is fired and the firing is upheld. I'm not quite sure what the contracts are there in Columbus, Ohio. But let's say that happens. Shouldn't there be some law that says this person can't just hop to another law enforcement agency, that there should be at least a wait of a year, 2, 3, 5 years, if folks don't support a lifetime ban, but at least some period where they just don't get another law enforcement job that quick?
Absolutely agree, and we're working on that. And actually, the Democratic mayors of the big cities of the state are working with our Republican governor and attorney general to put in place a statewide database so that jurisdictions from across the state know exactly what they're getting with officers that are applying to serve in their communities, what their background and history are, so that those red flags can be raised before they're even brought into communities where they clearly are not committed to protecting and serving everyone.
Mayor Andrew Ginther, we certainly appreciate you joining us on the show. You're one of your predecessors, Michael Coleman. I know him well. He would often be here, and so you're certainly welcome to come back to Roland Martin Unfiltered anytime to talk about this case or any other issues.
Thank you, Roland. Have a good evening. Merry Christmas.
Folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.